Welcome back to Dallas, Texas at the Trijicon live event. I'm Dave Fulson, host of Trijicon's World of Sports Afield television show. You know, for years and years, when you hear the name Trijicon, well, you probably associate it with one of the most brilliant pieces of optics ever invented, the AccuPoint series. The AccuPoint series has been expanded, and we're going to talk about it next. First of all, I want to show you a short video that we call The Science of Brilliant. And welcome back to our Trijicon live stream event coming to you from the Dallas Safari Club in beautiful Dallas, Texas. Now, we've been talking about hunting and the new line of hunting scopes available from Trijicon in 2020, and there are many. This is really one of the go-to scopes of the entire Trijicon line. It's the expanded AccuPoint series. And we want to say this right off the bat, whether you're watching on YouTube, Facebook, or on Instagram, you're going to have a chance to win this very scope. We're going to be drawing a winner. All you have to do to be eligible is post a comment or a question. And we are going to be answering any of your questions you may have. So if you post a comment or question, this scope may be going home with you, if you can get it out of my hands, of course. But I want to introduce the two guys up here with me, very avid shooters, very avid hunters. Of course, got my buddy John Fink, who is a product manager at Trijicon and one of the many guys behind these fantastic hunting and shooting products. And I also want to introduce you to my buddy Dan Catlin. Dan's one of my oldest buddies. You may know him as the senior vice president of the world's greatest taxidermy studio, the Wildlife Gallery in Blanchard, Michigan. You may know him from his hosting job on The Experience, which is a great YouTube hunting channel. I know Dan is one of the most well-traveled big game hunters that I get to run around with. And Dan, if there's anybody that's been using Trijicon products as long as I have, my friend, it's probably Dan Catlin.
Yeah. Thanks for passing the torch, Dave. Yeah, I feel fortunate to be one of the old-timers in the Trijicon family and starting to use the product in my military days back when I served in the U.S. Army and then also in civilian police work before I joined the Wildlife Gallery team. But it certainly served me well, and I'm just honored and proud to be part of the family that gets to use these in the field, gets to market them and promote them, and I'm really excited about the new features that this AccuPoint has come up with. And I know John's going to talk about some of the new technical features, but I just feel real fortunate to be a guy that takes it all over the world and hunts with it.
Well, John, you know, again, when you think, for a long time, when you think Trijicon, you think tritium technology. Well, right. Not everybody knows exactly what tritium technology means in this scope. Talk about that.
Okay, so you can see up here on top, we have the fiber optic dial. So fiber optic requires some ambient light to be able to illuminate. But there's times, you know, in the hunting world, you know, the first couple minutes of the morning, last couple minutes of the day, where, you know, you don't have enough ambient light to illuminate that fiber optic. So we have a tritium phosphor vial underneath that will illuminate it when there's not enough, you know, ambient light to illuminate that fiber optic. And that's technology that came from the ACOG that was developed by Glenn Benden, you know, over 30 years ago. So it is tried and proven, and it's something that is unique to Trijicon. It gives you battery-free illumination. So no matter what happens, no matter where you're at in the world, you are always going to have a brilliant illuminated reticle that's going to draw your eye, and allow for both eyes open shooting, with a traditional rifle scope.
And Dan, there's a lot of situations really, and you and I have talked about it, and we've experienced both of it for a long time. There are shots that I have been able to take in the second part of my hunting career using tritium technology with the AccuPoint that I was not comfortable and didn't take early in my career, because there's something to be said, especially we know when big critters come out. A lot of time it's early and it's very late. Right. And the difference between having a black standard crosshair and having to drop it up and down on an animal until you're satisfied it's somewhere close to where you want to shoot, it's not enough. And there's no need for that. This gives you a brilliant pinpoint place to shoot.
Yeah, that's right, Dave. I think it's point of aim, point of impact in low light situations when it's gray light out there in the woods, the deer woods especially, or even when you're in the mountains or you're bear hunting or whatever, you have the shadow of an animal under low light. Well, this tritium chip that actually powers that green. I like the green color, the green dot. It works best for my eye, but as when you're coming down into the kill zone of the animal, you're not so worried about the crosshairs anymore. You've got a shadowed animal. I think the most important thing as a hunter and an ethical hunter is you check the time. Are you in legal shooting light? Because this scope will allow you to go past legal shooting light.
Well, I believe you nearly did that a couple of weeks ago in Kansas.
That's correct. Charlotte and I, my wife, as everybody knows, she's a way better hunter than me and shoots bigger deer than I do, and I just wanted to put that out to the audience. But yes, we both had a last-minute opportunity at our deer 6 miles away in deer stands in Kansas, and literally I checked my watch because I thought, oh, wait a second, I had 3 minutes of legal shooting light left, and I made the shot and I was successful on my deer, and she did a similar thing. I think she had like 7 or 8 minutes because she's a better hunter, so her deer came in a little sooner than mine.
What you're saying, legal shooting light ends really probably officially earlier than Trijicon shooting light.
That's correct.
Yeah.
That's correct. It is a very, very reliable scope, especially in low light conditions.
But John, it's not always in low light conditions. There are certain animals, I think of, in my world, Cape buffalo.
Yeah,
It's an animal, it's a black animal. They're generally found in thick bush. They're found in shade. You'll be tracking along and all of a sudden this giant hulk comes to his feet and there you are. And I have seen people, they just tend to shoot at the buffalo.
Right.
Even with open sights, instead of picking a precise aiming point, and that really helps. But, an animal like a black bear.
Yeah.
No aiming point on a black bear.
Right, and where you've got that bright spot that just stands out. And, my first introduction to the AccuPoint was well before I ever joined Trijicon. And I found, shooting a white-tailed deer at 10:30 in the morning on a bright, sunny day, still having that bright, illuminated spot just gave me an absolute aiming point to put on that deer's shoulder and make a very clean, precise shot. So I absolutely love it.
I agree with that, John. And one thing I want to also talk about, Dave talked about Africa. I want to talk about the durability. I've been blessed to travel all over the world. I've literally taken these AccuPoint scopes to Africa, Asia, Alaska, Alberta, New Zealand, Mexico, several states in the lower 48. And this thing has been in luggage. It's on my back, in backpacks. I'm not the most fleet of foot on the mountains anymore as I get older. I've slipped and fallen. I dropped it. I dropped my rifle on an aoudad hunt in West Texas with you, Dave, and then when the moment of truth came, it was still very true. So they're super, super durable, and mine's been very well traveled and served me very well.
And that's something, all the new designs, we subject to that same level of testing, as we do our military grade optics. We do submersion to 10 feet versus, 66 or 100.
Right.
But, it is subjected to all the same testings. Now, speaking of the new, okay, so we've got 49 total SKUs now in the AccuPoint
49.
family.
Wow.
And we've completely overhauled or elevated, if you will, the 4-16s and the 5-20s, where we've gone to some new reticles that have finer, more precise aiming points. We've gone to some zero-stop adjusters that you'll find on some. It's across the board on those 5-20s with a zero-stop adjuster and 2 of the 4-16s. But then we have 2 new magnification ranges as well, in a 3-18 by 50 and a 4-24 by 50. But all the legacy AccuPoints that you've known and fallen in love with, the 1-4s, 1-6s, 2.5 to 12.5, and the 3-9, all of those are still in the line and available today. We've just added to it, made some enhancements. You'll notice on this one the satin finish. So on the new scopes, if you see a satin finish, it's an MOA adjuster. If it's a matte finish on the new scopes, it'll be a mil radian adjuster.
In a moment, John, I want to jump in and tell everybody in a minute or so, we're going to go to our first series of questions. And I want you to keep those comments and questions coming, because by doing so, you become eligible to take this AccuPoint home with you.
Unless I, of course, tuck it.
Well, then we'll wrestle one away from side. I'm not going to wrestle you for one. You see, that's going to be a problem. Thank goodness I have. Thank goodness I have one. But this, the AccuPoint, it's the flagship, John.
It is.
It's always.
It is. It set the standard for Trijicon.
That's the perfect word. It set the
and that is the bar we always strive to achieve in terms of quality, durability, reliability.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Okay, we've got our first question of the afternoon. Chris asks, what are the new magnifications in the Trijicon line?
Yeah, so the new magnifications in the AccuPoint line, are the 3 to 18 by 50 and the 4 to 24 by 50.
Okay. Our next question is from Thomas. Can I choose my finish and or adjuster style?
Well, in terms of finish and adjuster styles, as I mentioned, in the new scopes, if it's a MOA-based adjuster and MOA-based reticle, then it will have a satin finish on it. If it is a mil radian-based adjuster and mil radian-based reticle, it will be a matte finish on it.
Okay.
So there are options there, but it's really dependent on the type of adjuster and reticle that it has.
Yeah, and Mitch's got a really good question. And when you're spending your hard-earned money, whether it's a car or it's a rifle scope, you want to know, what is my warranty? Let's talk about the Trijicon warranty.
It's a limited lifetime warranty. So basically, workmanship and materials, anything like that, we're going to cover. If you back your pickup truck over it, well, we're going to have to talk. But
okay, Joseph asks, how does the scope work at night?
Yeah, I mean, at night, that tritium vial that I talked about, the tritium phosphor vial, will illuminate. Now, it's going to be, you will have to train your eye to look for it in the dark, but it will illuminate that very precise aiming
as a
point.
predator hunter, I can tell you that is a fact, and it really does come in, especially when the one's out there at the very end of your light, and you're not seeing the animals clearly as you wish, but you can see the silhouette and right where to shoot. And on leopards too, Dan, at night with a light. Oh, it's a killer on leopards. All right, Jack has our next question, and he wants to know what's the length of the AccuPoint scope.
And that's going to depend on your magnification range. Where your 1 to 4s and 1 to 6s are a shorter overall body length. Your 4 to 16s and your 5 to 20s, obviously they're going to be a little bit longer. But when you're looking at this scope, you're going to be right there in that 12 to 14 inch range.
Dylan, yes, indeed, 100%, absolutely. Well, that's the answer. The question was, is it waterproof and is it fog resistant?
Yes. As far as waterproof, we submerge these to a depth of 10 feet. Now, it doesn't mean it's not going to go any deeper than that. Yeah. But, we're confident that it's going to hold up at 10 feet.
Well, and we talk about Alaska and Africa proof. I would say if you've got a product that is Alaska proof, that's talking salt water, that's talking snow, driving rain, sleet, fog. Yeah. You're talking Africa. You can freeze to death in Africa, Dan. A lot of people don't know that. But also that afternoon you can be hunting in 115 like I was doing a few years ago in the CAR. And, the dust is the killer of equipment over there, and just no problem with Trijicon products.
Yeah, and in terms of the fog proofing, we talked a little bit about the submersion, but, it's a dry nitrogen fill. And that is one of the tests that we test it to is, it's our temperature shock test where we'll take it down to minus 20 for 24 hours, pull it out of the freezer, and then quickly bring it up to temperature. Say, if you're going from, below freezing temperatures into a warm cabin, what's going to happen? Right. Is it going to fog up? Then we'll do the same thing in reverse. Right. Take it up to 140 and then bring it down quickly. So we're absolutely confident that the system is sealed and you're not going to have a fogging issue.
There is nothing in the field that we can recreate that's going to put stress on this harder than what Trijicon's already done at the factory.
Exactly right.
Dan, closing up, a lot of people, and again, we've talked about this several times today, it's an investment. But I tell people, more important probably than the rifle caliber you're shooting in your bullet, the one single most important, item that you have when you go up the mountain or wherever you're going is your optics. It's your scope. And you can have the new world record, whatever, right in front of you, like we talked about. If you can't clearly see it, everything, the expense, the ache, the pain, all of it's for naught. And I mean, this is truly a scope that'll never let you down. And I tell people, everybody has a different financial situation. Buy the best scope that you can and understand that is going to serve you not only your lifetime, you're going to pass that down, and it's going to serve your son or your daughter, your wife, or whoever you gift it to.
That's right. That's right. Yeah, I personally think that the scope is the most important because the bullets are super important, but the bullet can't impact its target unless you have a great optic to put it there. And this is a Trijicon that will do it.
You can't hit what you can't see clearly.
That's right.
Well, I tell you what, it's been really a thrill for us to be here, and we've been talking about our different technical parts of the hunting parts, and we've had the full gamut of new products for 2020 in front of us this afternoon. But at 4:30 Eastern Standard Time, we are going to introduce a new Trijicon product, and I'm only going to tell you this. It's not going to be a game changer in our industry. It is going to be the game changer of 2020. If you are a shooter or if you are a hunter, A, you're going to hear a whole lot about it starting in a few minutes, and B, you're going to want to get your hands on one. Don't go anywhere.